The crystalline chamber floated in the void of space, orbiting a neutron star that pulsed with deadly radiation. Inside, thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered in perfect silence. The air hummed with translation fields that converted every language into something others could understand. Kang Minho stood among them, his hands clasped behind his back, watching. He was human. Most species in this room had never seen one before. They looked at him with curiosity, some with pity. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. In galactic terms, they were infants. The lights dimmed. A massive figure stepped onto the central platform. It stood 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor plating that looked like polished obsidian. Its eyes glowed amber in the darkness. 4 arms ended in claws that could tear through steel. This was Thalvor, supreme apex of the Vraxis Dominion. "The great proving begins," Thalvor announced. His voice rumbled through the chamber like thunder. "For 10,000 years, my people have maintained order through strength. We have hunted on 847 worlds. We have never been defeated." Minho listened carefully. He had read about the Vraxis. They were the galaxy's apex predators. Their biology made them nearly perfect hunters, enhanced senses that could track prey across continents, regeneration that healed wounds in minutes, natural weapons that never dulled. They had built their empire on a simple principle: the strong survive, the weak serve. "Every species will offer their finest warrior," Thalvor continued. "We will hunt them on worlds of our choosing. Those who survive earn respect. Those who fail accept their place beneath us." Whispers filled the chamber. Some species had participated in these hunts before. None had survived. The Vraxis always won. It was not cruelty, they claimed. It was nature. The strong ruled. That was the way of the universe. "Any species may decline," Thalvor said, his amber eyes scanning the crowd. "But those who refuse will be marked as prey. Forever." Minho felt Yunjiwoo shift beside him. She was his diplomatic aide, brilliant and quick-thinking. "We should decline," she whispered. "This is insane. We're not ready for this." "We don't have a choice," Minho replied quietly. An ambassador from the Pelthian collective stood up. Its body resembled a floating jellyfish, bioluminescent patterns flickering across its membrane. "The Pelthian collective offers our champion." Another species stood. Then another. One by one they offered their warriors. Some voices trembled with fear. Others spoke with false confidence. All of them knew the truth. They were sending their people to die. Minho waited until the room fell silent again. Then he stepped forward. "Humanity accepts." The chamber erupted. Species turned to stare at him. Some made sounds that the translation fields couldn't process, emotions too alien to convert. Thalvor's eyes fixed on Minho. The supreme apex leaned forward, studying this small creature who dared to speak. "You are certain, human?" Thalvor asked. There was no mockery in his voice, only genuine curiosity. "Your species is new. You have no warriors who can match Vraxis' strength." "We have warriors," Minho said calmly, "and we accept your challenge." Thalvor's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. "Then I will hunt you myself. I will show the galaxy what happens to those who overestimate their capabilities." "As you wish," Minho replied. "The proving ground will be Korthak Prime," Thalvor announced. "Gravity 3 times your Earth standard. Atmosphere toxic to most species. Predators evolved in conditions that would kill lesser beings. You will have 12 hours to prepare. Then the hunt begins." Jiwoo grabbed Minho's arm as they left the chamber. Her face was pale. "What did you just do?" "Korthak Prime is a death world. Nothing survives there except the Vraxis and the native megafauna." "I know," Minho said. "Then why did you accept?" "We could have negotiated. We could have found another way." Minho stopped walking. He turned to face her. "Jiwoo, listen carefully. The moment we entered this chamber, we had already lost the negotiation. The Vraxis respect only strength. If we had refused, they would have marked us as prey. Every species in the galaxy would have known that humans were cowards." "Better cowards than extinct," Jiwoo said. "No," Minho's voice was firm. "Not better. If they see us as prey, they will hunt us anyway, on their terms, in their time. At least this way we choose our battlefield." "You didn't choose anything. Thalvor chose Korthak Prime." Minho smiled slightly. "He thinks he did. They returned to the human delegation quarters. The room was small, functional, designed for short diplomatic visits. Minho sat down at the communications console and opened an encrypted channel to Earth. General Lee Suman appeared on the screen. Her face was tired, lined with worry. I watched the proceedings. Tell me you have a plan. Protocol 13, Minho said. Suman closed her eyes. Are you sure? Once we activate that protocol, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we're capable of. They need to know, Minho replied. The Vraxis have been the dominant power for too long. They've forgotten what it means to face a real threat. They hunt for sport, for ceremony. They've never fought for survival. And you think you can survive Korthak Prime? I don't think. I know. Minho leaned closer to the screen. General, I've spent 20 years training for environments like this. The Amazon, Siberia, the Australian outback, the Sahara. I've learned to survive in places designed to kill me. Korthak Prime is just another training ground. It's a death world, Suman said. So is Earth, Minho replied. We just got used to it. Suman was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Protocol 13 is authorized. We'll send the equipment package to Korthak Prime. It will arrive 6 hours before the hunt begins. Thank you, General. Minho, Suman said. Her voice was softer now. Come home. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. The transmission ended. Jiwoo stared at him. Protocol 13. I don't have clearance for that. What is it? Everything I need to turn a death world into home, Minho said. 3 days later, Minho stood on the surface of Korthak Prime. The sky was the color of rust. Lightning crackled through clouds thick with sulfur. The gravity pressed down on him like a physical weight. Every breath burned his lungs, even through the filtration mask. Thalavor and his hunters stood nearby, 12 of them, all elite warriors. They wore ceremonial armor, carried weapons that had killed thousands. Orbital drones floated above them, broadcasting the hunt to every species in the galaxy. You will have 12 hours, Thalavor said. Run, hide, fight. It makes no difference. We will find you. Minho adjusted his pack. Inside was basic survival gear, water purification tablets, a knife, emergency medical supplies. Nothing that would help against Vraxis hunters. Or so it appeared. I have one question, Minho said. Thalavor tilted his head. Speak. When I win, what happens? Several hunters made sounds that might have been laughter. Thalavor's expression didn't change. If you survive until sunset tomorrow, you win. No one has ever survived that long. There's a first time for everything, Minho said. He turned and walked into the wilderness. Behind him, Thalavor watched the human disappear into the toxic forest. The Supreme Apex felt something unusual. Not concern. Not doubt. Just curiosity. This human was different. He showed no fear. He moved with purpose, like he had done this before. Thalavor looked at his hunters. 12 hours. Then we begin. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched their screens. They watched the small human walk alone into hell. Most of them thought the same thing. He would be dead by morning. None of them knew they were wrong. None of them knew the hunt had already begun, and the human wasn't the prey. Dawn broke over Korthak Prime like a wound opening in the sky. The 12 hours had passed. Thalavor stood with his hunting pack, checking their weapons one final time. Around them, the toxic forest hissed and steamed in the morning heat. The human will be exhausted by now, one hunter said. His name was Vorthak. He had killed 23 prey in previous hunts. The gravity alone should have broken his bones. Never underestimate prey, Thalavor said. That is how hunters die. But even as he spoke, he felt confident. The human tracks were clear in the volcanic soil. The prey was moving north toward the mountain range. A predictable strategy. Seek high ground, try to spot the hunters coming. They followed the trail at an easy pace. There was no need to hurry. The human couldn't outrun them. He couldn't outfight them. He could only delay the inevitable. 3 hours into the hunt, they found the first marker. A piece of cloth tied to a tree branch. On it, written in crude letters, "You're going the wrong way." Several hunters laughed. "The prey mocks us," one said. Thalavor said nothing. He studied the marker carefully. Something felt wrong. Why would prey announce its presence? Why leave a trail so obvious? "Spread out," he ordered. Stay alert, they continued forward. The forest grew thicker, the trees twisted and ancient. Strange sounds echoed through the canopy. Native creatures watching the hunters pass. Vorthak stepped on something that clicked softly. The trap was simple. A pressure plate hidden under leaves, connected to a branch bent back like a bow. When Vorthak's foot pressed down, the branch released. But it wasn't the branch that hurt him. It was what coated the sharpened stakes attached to it. A toxin extracted from local plants. Not deadly, but powerful. Vorthak collapsed, his nervous system paralyzed. The hunting pack stopped. They stared at their fallen companion. This wasn't supposed to happen. Prey didn't set traps, Prey ran. Prey hid. He's alive, Thalvor said, examining Vorthak. The poison will wear off in a few hours. Leave him. We continue, but now they moved more carefully. Their confidence had cracked slightly. 6 hours into the hunt, they reached a ravine. The only way forward was across a fallen tree that bridged the gap. Below, volcanic vents spewed toxic gas. The human crossed here, a hunter said, pointing to marks on the tree bark. Thalvor studied the crossing. Something about it felt wrong. The tree was too perfectly positioned. Too convenient. Go around, he ordered. That will cost us 3 hours, another hunter protested. Better 3 hours than our lives. They went around. When they reached the other side of the ravine, they found why Thalvor had been right. The tree was rigged with explosive charges made from minerals found in the volcanic soil. If they had crossed, the tree would have collapsed, dropping them into the toxic gas below. Next to the charges, another message. 13 years studying human warfare tactics. Chapter 3. Control the battlefield. The hunters were no longer laughing. This isn't normal prey behavior, one said quietly. Thalavor's amber eyes scanned the forest. No, it isn't. Across the galaxy, billions watched their screens in confusion. This wasn't how hunts went. The prey was supposed to run. The hunters were supposed to chase. But the human wasn't running. He was fighting back, more than fighting. He was hunting. 9 hours into the chase, 2 more hunters fell. One triggered a deadfall trap that crushed his leg. Another stepped into a camouflaged pit filled with stakes coated in the same paralytic toxin. Thalvor called a halt. His pack had shrunk from 12 to 9. The human hadn't even shown himself yet. He's studying us, Thalvor said aloud. What? A hunter asked. Every trap is learning our patterns, testing our responses. The first trap was crude. These last ones were sophisticated. He's adapting. How can prey adapt? We are Vraxis. We are the apex. Thalvor looked at his hunter. Then why are we losing? Night fell. The temperature dropped rapidly. The hunter's armor kept them warm, but they were tired. Not physically. Vraxis bodies were built for endurance. But mentally, the constant vigilance was wearing on them. They made camp in a clearing, posting guards, checking the perimeter. That's when the sound started, scraping against trees in the darkness, footsteps that came from all directions, whistles that might have been wind or might have been something else. The hunters stood back to back, weapons ready. But nothing attacked. The sounds continued for hours, just at the edge of hearing, just close enough to keep them alert. By morning, they were exhausted. Sleep had been impossible. Psychological warfare, Thalvor said. His voice was tired. He's breaking us down. They resumed the hunt. But now they were slower. Jumping at shadows, checking every step twice. That's when Thalvor found the cave. The human's tracks led inside. Finally, the prey had made a mistake. Trapped himself in a dead end. Surround the entrance, Thalvor ordered. He stepped inside carefully, weapon raised. The cave was empty. No, not empty. On the wall, scratched into stone, was a message. Chapter 7. Make them chase ghosts. Thalvor understood then. The tracks were fake. The human had doubled back hours ago. While they were hunting shadows, he was behind them. 3 more hunters fell that afternoon. 1 to another trap. 2 simply disappeared. They found them later, unconscious, stripped of their weapons. By sunset, only Thalvor and 2 others remained. They stood in a clearing, turning slowly, trying to watch all directions at once. Show yourself, Thalvor roared at the forest. Face us with honor, a voice answered from the trees. Calm, almost gentle. Honor is for those who can afford it. I'm just trying to survive. Minho stepped into view. He looked tired but unbroken. His clothes were torn and stained with mud. He carried no visible weapons. You cannot defeat us in combat, Thalvor said. I know, Minho replied. That's why I didn't try. Then what was the point of all this? To show you something, Minho said. He gestured at the forest around them. You see a death world. I see resources. You see obstacles. I see opportunities. You came here to hunt. I came here to survive. Survival is not victory. On Earth we have a saying, the best fighter is the one who doesn't have to fight. Minho took a step forward. You wanted to prove Vrax's superiority. But superiority means nothing if you can't adapt. One of the remaining hunters charged. Minho didn't move. The hunter stepped on a pressure plate. A net made from woven vines and local fibers sprang up, catching him. Your species has been the apex for so long you forgot what it means to be prey, Minho said. Humans remember. We were prey once. Every predator on Earth hunted us. We survived by being smarter, faster learners, better at adapting. Thalivor looked at his last remaining hunter, then at Minho, then at the forest that had become their prison. The hunt ends at sunset, Thalivor said quietly. I know. You have won. No, Minho said. I've survived. There's a difference. The sun touched the horizon. Orange light flooded the clearing. Across the galaxy, billions watched in stunned silence. The human had done the impossible. Thalivor lowered his weapon. I underestimated you. Most do, Minho replied. A rumbling sound filled the air. The ground shook. Minho's expression changed. We need to move now. What? Volcanic eruption. About 3 kilometers east. We have 5 minutes, Thalivor stared at him. How do you know? I've been monitoring the seismic activity since I arrived. This planet follows predictable patterns. Minho was already moving. You can stay and maintain your pride, or you can follow me and live. Thalivor made his decision. He followed. They ran through the forest. The ground shook harder. Trees began to fall. Toxic gas erupted from new vents. Minho led them with certainty, taking paths that seemed random but always avoided danger. They reached the extraction point just as the eruption hit. The ship descended through clouds of ash and fire. Minho helped Thalivor's injured hunters aboard. The supreme apex was the last to enter, turning to look at the human. You saved us, Thalivor said. That's what survivors do, Minho replied. The ship lifted off. Through the windows they watched Korthak Prime disappear below them. The galaxy watched too, watched a human spare the lives of those who had tried to kill him. It was something they had never seen before. And it changed everything. The Galactic Council chambers were in chaos. Representatives from 1,000 species shouted over each other. Translation fields overloaded, creating feedback loops of garbled sound. At the center of it all, Kang Minho stood quietly, waiting for the noise to die down. Thalivor stood beside him. The Supreme Apex's armor was still scorched from the volcanic ash. His presence silenced the room faster than any words could. The hunt was invalid, someone shouted. A representative from the Kelthian Union. The human used technology. He cheated. The human used the environment, Thalivor said. His voice cut through the remaining noise. He used plants, minerals, and knowledge, all allowed under hunt protocols. But he set traps. He used tactics. Prey doesn't do that. Then perhaps we chose the wrong word, Thalivor replied. Perhaps he was never prey at all. The chamber fell silent. The implications of those words hung in the air like smoke. On Earth, in a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Lee Suman watched the proceedings with her senior staff. Dr. Han Jisoo sat beside her, analyzing data on multiple screens. The galactic reaction is mixed, Jisoo said. 43% view humanity as a potential threat. 37% are curious about forming alliances. 20% haven't decided yet. And the Vraxis? Suman asked. That's the interesting part. Jisoo pulled up a graph. Their civilization is fracturing. The younger generation is questioning everything. For 10,000 years they've defined themselves through these hunts. Now a species they considered weak has beaten them at their own game. We didn't want to make enemies, Suman said quietly. We didn't have a choice. The moment we entered galactic society, we were either going to be predators or prey. Minho made sure we were neither. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Yoon Jiwoo stepped forward. She had prepared for this moment, rehearsed a dozen speeches. But standing before the assembled galaxy, she threw away her notes. You want to know what makes humans different? She said. It's simple. We're afraid. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Every species here evolved as either predator or prey. You were one or the other. But humans were both. We hunted and we were hunted. For millions of years we lived in fear, fear of the dark, Fear of the creatures with bigger teeth. Fear of each other. She paused, letting her words sink in. That fear taught us something. It taught us to think, to plan, to imagine every possible danger and prepare for it. You see, paranoia. We call it survival instinct. Fear is weakness, a Vrax's council member said. Fear is information, Jiwoo replied. It tells you when something is dangerous. The question is what you do with that information. Some species freeze, some run. Humans learn to fight back. Minho spoke then, his voice calm. On Earth, we have a concept called persistence hunting. Our ancestors would chase prey for days. Not because we were faster. We weren't. But we could keep going when the prey couldn't. We would track an animal until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would take it. How is that relevant? Someone asked. Because that's what I did on Korthak Prime. I didn't try to beat the Vraxis in combat. I couldn't, but I could outlast them. I could make them chase me until they made mistakes. Until they were tired. Until they forgot that the hunter can become the hunted. Thalvor was watching Minho carefully. You knew you would win from the beginning. I knew I would survive, Minho corrected. There's a difference. Explain. Minho turned to face the Supreme Apex directly. Winning means defeating your enemy. Surviving means making it through to tomorrow. Sometimes they're the same thing. Often they're not. You speak in riddles. Then let me be clear. Minho addressed the entire chamber now. Humans don't seek dominance. We seek stability. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to live in it. But if someone threatens our survival, we will do whatever necessary to protect ourselves. Even if it means war, someone challenged. Especially if it means war, Minho replied. Because we're very, very good at it. The chamber erupted again. Some species called for humanity to be sanctioned. Others argued for alliance. The debate raged for hours. Back on Earth, Dr. Jisoo was giving a presentation to military leadership. On the screen behind her, images of Earth's history played. Ancient humans hunting mammoth. Medieval warfare. Modern conflicts. What makes humans unique is our adaptability, she explained. Most species evolve for their environment. Humans evolve to adapt to any environment. We spread across Earth from Arctic tundra to tropical jungles. We learn to survive everywhere. The Vraxis are physically superior to us in every way, a general said. Stronger, faster, better senses. How did Minho beat them? Because physical superiority doesn't matter if you can't adapt, Jisoo replied. The Vraxis have been apex predators for so long, they've stagnated. They follow rituals, traditions, predictable patterns. Minho broke all the patterns, and is that sustainable? Can we really compete with species that have technology thousands of years ahead of ours? We don't compete with their technology. We compete with their thinking. Jisoo changed the slide. It showed a simple diagram, a human brain next to a Vraxis brain. We process information differently. We imagine scenarios that haven't happened yet. We plan for problems that don't exist. Most species call this anxiety. We call it strategy. Days passed. The council debated. Species took sides. Some saw humanity's victory as proof that the old order was broken. Others saw it as a fluke, an accident that would never happen again. Then Thalvor did something unprecedented. He requested a private meeting with Minho on Earth. They met in a simple room. No guards, no witnesses, just two warriors facing each other across a table. I came to understand, Thalvor said. Understand what? How you defeated me. The Supreme Apex leaned forward. My species has conquered 847 worlds. We have never lost. How did you win? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Can I show you something? He led Thalvor to a window. Outside, the Rocky Mountains stretched to the horizon. Snow covered the peaks, forests filled the valleys. See that mountain? Minho pointed to the highest peak. 100 years ago, no human could climb it. We didn't have the technology. We weren't strong enough. But you climbed it anyway, Thalvor said. Eventually. Do you know how? Better equipment. Partly. But mostly we learned from our failures. Every expedition that failed taught us something. Every person who died showed us what not to do. We built on the knowledge of everyone who came before us. The Vraxis do this too, Thalvor said. Do you? Minho looked at him. Or do you repeat the same strategies because they worked in the past? Thalvor had no answer. Your species perfected the hunt thousands of years ago, Minho continued. You became so good at it you stopped improving. You stopped adapting. Because why would you? You are already the best. And humans? We've never been the best at anything. We're not the strongest, not the fastest, not the smartest, but we're the best at learning, at changing, at finding new ways to solve old problems. Thalivor stood at the window for a long time looking at the mountains. My people are afraid, he said finally. For the first time in 10,000 years, we're afraid. Good, Minho said. Good? Fear means you're aware of danger. Awareness means you can prepare. Preparation means you can survive. Minho joined him at the window. The Vraxis aren't weak. You're just stuck. You've been doing things the same way for so long you forgot there might be other ways. How do we change? The same way humans did. By accepting that you don't know everything. By learning from others. By admitting that sometimes the prey has something to teach the predator. Thalivor turned to look at Minho. You saved my life on Korthak Prime. You could have left us to die in the eruption. I could have. Why didn't you? Because survival isn't about being the last one standing. It's about making sure there's still a tomorrow. Minho met his gaze. Besides, I might need you alive someday. For what? Minho smiled slightly. The galaxy is a big place, full of unknowns. If we're going to explore it, we're going to need friends. A message came through on Minho's communicator. His expression changed. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind that makes our little hunt look like a training exercise. Minho pulled up a holographic display. It showed star maps with large sections marked in red. Something's attacking colony worlds on the frontier. Multiple species. No survivors. Thalivor studied the map. The Krell swarm. You know them? Every species knows them. They were defeated 3,000 years ago. Driven into deep space. We thought they were extinct. They're not extinct, Minho said grimly. And they're coming back. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was different from before. There was no shouting now. No debates about protocol or pride. Fear had a way of making everyone focus. Ambassador Yun Jiwoo stood at the central podium, displaying images from the frontier colonies. What the images showed made even the most hardened warriors look away. 17 colony worlds in 3 weeks, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the podium tightly. The Krell don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They consume everything and move on. A holographic display showed the Krell swarm. They looked like insects magnified 1,000 times. Chitinous armor, multiple limbs, eyes that reflected no light. But the truly terrifying part was their numbers. Billions of them, moving as one organism. They operate as a hive mind. Dr. Han Jisu explained via remote connection from Earth. She had been studying the Krell for days without sleep. Individual units have minimal intelligence, but together, they form a distributed consciousness. They adapt faster than any individual species can. How do we fight them? Someone asked. We don't know yet, Jisu admitted. Traditional warfare doesn't work. You can't negotiate with them. You can't frighten them. They just keep coming. Thalivor stood. 3,000 years ago, the combined forces of 50 species barely stopped them. We lost hundreds of worlds, trillions of lives. It took everything we had. And now they're back, Minho said quietly. The council chamber filled with worried murmurs. Species that had been arguing about humanity's status 3 days ago were now looking to them for answers. Why are you looking at us? Yunjiwoo asked. We're the newcomers, remember? We don't have your technology. We don't have your experience. But you beat the Vraxis, a Kelthian representative said. That was 1 human against 12 hunters. This is billions of Krell against the entire galaxy. Still, the representative insisted, you showed us that new thinking can beat superior force. Maybe that's what we need now. Minho stood beside Jiwoo at the podium. If you want our help, we need information. Everything you know about the Krell. Every battle, every strategy that worked or failed. Some of that information is classified, someone objected. Then people will die, Minho said bluntly. Your choice. The council voted. Information barriers came down. For the first time in galactic history, species began sharing military secrets with each other. On Earth, Captain Choi Hyunwoo was preparing his ship for departure. The exploration vessel Horizon's Edge had been retrofitted for combat in record time. His crew worked around the clock, loading weapons and supplies. "Captain, we've received new orders," his first officer said. Lieutenant Bei Sujin was young, but capable, a tactical genius with 3 degrees in military strategy. "Let me guess," Hyunwoo said. "We're going to the frontier." "Worse, we're going beyond it. Intelligence suggests the Krell have a staging area somewhere in the outer voids. Command wants reconnaissance. So we're bait." "Essentially, yes." Hyunwoo smiled grimly. "Well, someone has to do it." The Horizon's Edge departed 2 days later. They weren't alone. 3 Vraxis warships joined them, along with vessels from 5 other species. It was an unprecedented alliance. Species that had never cooperated before, united by common threat. Thalvor commanded the Vraxis contingent. He and Minho maintained constant communication as their ships traveled deeper into unexplored space. "Your people are afraid of us," Thalvor said during one call. "Some are," Minho admitted. "You spent 10,000 years as predators. That's hard to forget. And yet we fight together now." Fear makes strange allies. They found the first evidence of Krell 3 light-years into the outer voids. An entire solar system stripped clean. Planets reduced to barren rock. Even the star seemed dimmer, as if the Krell had somehow consumed its energy. "This is recent," Sujin reported. "Within the last month." "They're moving faster than expected," Hyunwoo said. "If they maintain this pace, they'll reach inhabited space in weeks, not months." A proximity alarm blared. Krell ships appeared on sensors. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. They moved in perfect synchronization like schools of fish. "All ships, evasive action," Hyunwoo ordered. The battle was chaos. The Krell didn't use standard tactics. They didn't try to outmaneuver or flank. They simply swarmed, overwhelming through sheer numbers. The Vraxis fought with brutal efficiency. Their ships were built for close combat, heavily armored with devastating weapons. But for every Krell ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. "They're learning our attack patterns," Sujin said. "Each wave adapts to our previous tactics." "Then we need to stop being predictable," Hyunwoo replied. He opened a channel to Thalvor. "Can your ships handle more G-force than my crew?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because we're going to do something stupid." What followed was more instinct than strategy. The human and Vraxis ships split up, then rejoined in random patterns. They fired at angles that made no tactical sense. They retreated when they should have advanced when they should have retreated. It worked. The Krell tried to adapt to the chaos, but chaos by definition couldn't be predicted. "We can't keep this up forever," Thalvor warned. "My ships are taking damage. We don't need forever. We just need data." Hyunwoo turned to Sujin. "Did you get what we need?" "Every sensor was recording. Dr. Jisoo will have plenty to analyze. Then we're done here. All ships, jump to hyperspace on my mark." They escaped with heavy damage but no losses. Back at the rally point, crews worked to repair their ships while the officers gathered for debriefing. "The Krell are vulnerable to unpredictability," Hyunwoo said. "But that's not a sustainable strategy. Eventually they'll adapt even to chaos." "Then we need a different approach," someone suggested. Minho had been quiet during the debriefing, studying the sensor data. Now he looked up. "We're thinking about this wrong." "Explain," Thalvor said. "The Krell operate as a hive mind. That's their strength. But it's also their weakness." "How?" "Think about it. Individual Krell have almost no intelligence. They rely on the collective consciousness. What happens if we disrupt that connection?" "The individuals would be helpless," Jisoo said over the communication link. "But how do we disrupt a distributed consciousness? It's not like there's a central brain we can target." "No, but there must be some kind of coordination mechanism, something that lets billions of individuals act as one." On Earth, Jisoo assembled a team. Scientists from a dozen species worked together, analyzing the sensor data from Hyunwoo's encounter. They argued, debated, tested theories. Days passed. The Krell continued their advance. More colonies fell. The galaxy watched the frontier shrink. Then Jisoo found something. There, she said, highlighting a pattern in the data. See that? It's a signal. Very faint, but it's present in every Krell organism we scanned. A control signal? Someone asked. More like a synchronization pulse. It keeps them all connected, all thinking together. Can we disrupt it? Maybe. But we'd need to get close. Very close. Inside their formation. Minho looked at the data. This is suicide. Probably, Jisoo agreed. But it might be our only chance. The plan was insane. A small team would infiltrate Krell space, plant a device that would broadcast a counter-signal, disrupt the hive mind long enough for the main fleet to attack. Volunteers were requested. Hundreds applied. Humans, Vraxis, and others. Species that had never trusted each other, now willing to die together. Minho selected the team personally. Captain Choi Hyunwoo would lead the insertion. Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin would handle tactical coordination. And Thalvor insisted on joining personally. You don't have to do this, Minho told the Supreme Apex. Yes, I do, Thalvor replied. My species has claimed superiority for 10,000 years. Time to prove it means something. The mission launched under cover of a larger fleet movement. A small ship, barely bigger than a shuttle, slipped through the Krell lines. Inside, Hyunwoo piloted while Soo-jin monitored sensors. Thalvor and 2 of his warriors prepared the disruption device. They penetrated deeper into Krell space than any ship had gone. The enemy was everywhere. Ships so numerous they blotted out the stars. But the small vessel was designed to emit the same signals as a Krell ship. It was invisible among the swarm. Deployment point in 2 minutes, Hyunwoo said. That's when everything went wrong. A Krell ship changed course. Collision warning alarms shrieked. They've detected us, Soo-jin said. Deploy the device now, Hyunwoo ordered. Thalvor activated it immediately. The device broadcast its signal. Around them, Krell ships suddenly stopped moving. Just for a moment. A brief hesitation. But a moment was enough. All ships attack now! Minho's voice came through on all channels. The main fleet had been waiting for this moment. They poured through the Krell lines. Human ingenuity combined with Vraxis strength combined with technology from a dozen species. The Krell tried to adapt. But their coordination was disrupted. Individual units attacked in random directions. The hive mind was fractured. It's working, someone shouted. Get that insertion team out of there, Minho ordered. Hyunwoo's ship was already moving. But the Krell were recovering. Their hive mind was reasserting control. The window was closing. They made it out with seconds to spare. Behind them, the Krell formation was collapsing into chaos. Ships colliding with each other. The perfect synchronization shattered. But Minho knew this was just the beginning. The Krell would adapt. They would find a way to prevent this disruption. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Fleet Admiral Kang Minho stood on the bridge of the combined fleet flagship, watching the holographic display of the Threshold Nebula. Somewhere in that cloud of gas and dust, the Krell were massing for their final push into civilized space. 3 months had passed since the disruption device first worked. 3 months of constant warfare. The Krell had adapted, as Minho knew they would. The hive mind had developed redundancies, backup systems. The trick that worked once would never work again. But those 3 months had given the galaxy time. Time to unite. Time to prepare. Fleet status report, Minho said. Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin had been promoted to his tactical officer. She read from her console. 1,500 warships from 47 species. Ammunition at 93%. All crews at battle stations. Vraxis contingent. War leader Thalvor reports ready. He's leading the vanguard personally. Minho allowed himself a small smile. The Supreme Apex had insisted on demotion to war leader, so he could fight on the front lines. It was very un-Vraxis behavior. Then again, many things had changed in 3 months. Captain Choi Hyunwoo's voice came through on a private channel. Admiral, the infiltration teams are in position. All 20 of them? Confirmed. We've scattered them across the nebula. When the Krell come through, we'll be waiting inside their formation. The Krell will be expecting that trick now, Minho warned. I know. That's why we're not using disruption devices this time. We're using something better. What? Doubt. On Earth, Dr. Han Jisoo was explaining the plan to the civilian leadership. The president looked skeptical. You want to give the Krell an existential crisis? The president said. Not exactly, Jisoo replied. The Krell hive mind works because every individual trusts the collective completely. They never question, never doubt. We're going to introduce the concept of doubt into their consciousness. How? By making them witness something that contradicts their fundamental programming. The Krell exist to consume, to expand, to assimilate everything. But what if they encounter something they can't assimilate? Something that refuses to be consumed? You mean us, I mean all of us. Every species fighting together. The Krell have only ever faced divided opposition before. Species fighting alone? Easy to predict, easy to defeat. But we're not alone anymore. The president was quiet for a moment. This entire war has been humanity teaching the galaxy to work together. Not teaching, Jisoo corrected gently. Reminding. The galaxy worked together before, 3,000 years ago. They just forgot how. Back at the Threshold Nebula, the Krell arrived. They came like a living tide, billions of ships moving in perfect unison. The combined fleet seemed tiny in comparison. All ships hold position, Minho ordered. Do not engage until I give the command. Admiral, they're in firing range, someone said nervously. I know, wait. The Krell moved closer. Their weapons charging. Death seconds away. Now, Minho commanded. The combined fleet didn't attack the Krell. They attacked the nebula itself. Concentrated fire on specific coordinates. The gas and dust ignited, creating walls of fire that cut through the Krell formation. Infiltration teams execute, Minho said. Inside the Krell swarm, Hyunwoo's team activated their devices. But these weren't disruption devices. They were transmitters, broadcasting a simple message directly into the Krell hive mind. The message was a question. What if you're wrong? For a species that had never questioned itself, that simple thought was devastating. The hive mind stuttered. Individual Krell hesitated for microseconds. Those microseconds compounded across billions of units. All ships attack formation Delta 7, Minho ordered. Delta 7 was chaos made organized. Ships attacked from random vectors. No pattern. No predictability. Human vessels used hit-and-run tactics. Vrax's ships held defensive positions. Other species provided support fire. Everyone doing something different, but somehow it worked together. The Krell tried to adapt, but adaptation required consistency. Something to learn from. This battle had no consistency. They're fragmenting, Sujin reported. The hive mind is splitting into smaller subgroups. Good, that means they're thinking independently. Minho opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is the Admiral. The Krell are dividing. Press the attack, but watch for coordination collapse. If the hive mind fully fractures, they'll become either completely helpless or completely independent. Either way, we need to be ready. Thalvor's voice came through. Admiral, my forward units are taking heavy casualties. Can you hold? We're Vraxis. We always hold, and there was a pause. But it would be nice to have support. Human assault wings moved to support Vraxis vanguard, Minho ordered. Show them how we work together. The human ships dove into the heaviest fighting. They weren't as heavily armored as Vraxis vessels. But they were faster, more maneuverable. They drew fire away from damaged Vraxis ships, protected them while they regenerated shields. Thalvor watched this with something like wonder. His species had always fought alone. Accepting help was seen as weakness. But these humans threw themselves into danger to protect warriors they barely knew. Thank you, Thalvor said quietly over a private channel. That's what allies do, Minho replied. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Krell kept coming, but their coordination was failing. Ships collided with each other. Weapons fired at wrong targets. The perfect synchronization was breaking down. Then something changed. The Krell stopped advancing. They didn't retreat either. They just stopped. What are they doing? Sujin asked. Thinking, Minho said. Maybe for the first time. The Krell fleet hung in space, motionless. On Earth, Dr. Jisoo watched the sensor feeds with wide eyes. The hive mind is reorganizing, she said. But not into one consciousness, into many. They're becoming individuals. Is that good or bad? Someone asked. I have no idea. In the Threshold Nebula, the Krell began to withdraw. Slowly. Carefully. Not fleeing. Choosing to leave. Should we pursue? A captain asked. No, Minho said firmly. Let them go, but we have them on the run. They're not running. They're learning. Minho watched the Krell ships disappear into the nebula. We just taught the most dangerous species in the galaxy how to think independently. Let's give them time to process that before we make them our enemies again. The combined fleet held position while the Krell withdrew. It took hours. But eventually the enemy was gone. Silence filled the communication channels. Then someone started cheering. Then everyone, the war wasn't completely over. The Krell still existed, but they were changed, fragmented, no longer a unified threat. Minho let his crew celebrate for a few minutes. Then he opened a channel to all ships. All vessels, this is Fleet Admiral Kang Minho. Today the galaxy achieved something unprecedented. 47 species fought as one. We didn't just defeat the Krell, we showed them and ourselves that cooperation is stronger than any individual power. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. For too long, the galaxy has been divided. Species competed when they should have collaborated. The Vraxis hunted when they could have protected. Others hid when they could have helped. But today we were united, and that unity saved us all. Thalavor's voice joined the transmission. The Vraxis Dominion formally proposes the establishment of a galactic defense alliance. All species equal. All species contributing their strengths. One by one, other species voiced their agreement. The alliance was born in the aftermath of battle, forged in fire and sealed with trust. Weeks later, Minho returned to Earth. He was tired, older looking than when he'd left. The weight of command had marked him. He found himself at a temple in the Korean mountains, the same place he'd visited before accepting the Vraxis Hunt challenge. The sunset painted the sky in colors that reminded him of fire. But this time the fire was one of hope, not war. Yunjiwoo found him there. She sat beside him quietly. "The council wants to make you permanent fleet admiral," she said. "I know. Are you going to accept?" "I don't know yet." Minho looked at the sunset. "When I accepted the Vraxis Hunt, I thought I was just trying to survive. To show them we weren't prey. But it became something bigger. You changed the galaxy. No, I just reminded them of something they'd forgotten. That strength isn't about being superior. It's about working together." A message notification appeared on Jiwoo's device. She read it and smiled. "The first joint colony has been established. Humans and Vraxis living together on a frontier world." What did they name it? New Beginning. Minho smiled. "That's appropriate." Captain Choi Hyunwoo's exploration vessel was preparing for another mission. This time not to explore human space. To explore together with ships from a dozen other species. Mapping the unknown together, Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin had received command of her own vessel. The youngest captain in the fleet, put in charge of training new officers from all species in combined tactics. Thalavor returned to the Vraxis homeworld, but he wasn't the same supreme apex who had declared the hunt on humanity. He brought back new ideas, new ways of thinking. His people resisted at first. Change was hard, but slowly the Vraxis were changing. The young ones especially. They saw what cooperation had achieved. They wanted to be part of it. Dr. Han Ji-soo published her research on human adaptation. It became required reading at military academies across the galaxy, not because it taught warfare, because it taught flexibility. The Krell remained in deep space, monitoring from a distance, but they were different now, fragmented into thousands of smaller groups, some aggressive, some curious, some seeking contact. The galaxy learned to treat them not as a monolithic threat but as individuals. It was harder that way, more complicated, but it was also more honest. Minho stood in the mountain temple as the sun disappeared below the horizon. The stars began to appear. So many stars, so many possibilities. His communicator chimed. A message from the Galactic Council. They were asking for him again. Another crisis. Another challenge. Minho smiled. The galaxy would always have challenges, but now it had something else too. It had allies. He sent a simple reply. On my way. The strongest species in the galaxy wasn't the one with the biggest weapons or the most ships. It wasn't the one that had evolved for 10,000 years as apex predators. It wasn't even the one that could adapt to anything. The strongest species was all of them. Together. And somewhere in the Korean mountains, a temple bell rang in the evening breeze. The sound carried far, not as a warning, not as a challenge, as a promise. The hunt was over, the alliance had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.